Hello and welcome back to another Vision Forward Tech Connect. This is only our second video of 2023 and we are glad to have you here. Hopefully you are having a great year so far. In this video, we have decided to take a slightly different route to our usual videos, which are usually try to be funny and look at assistive technology. In this video, we have decided to take a little more serious topic and talk to Cory about vision loss and its emotional impact, because we think that is an issue which affects a lot of people with vision loss. Just before we get started here though, I will ask you, if you did not catch our first video of 2023, the one that released before this one, please do check that out. We are trying to get comments from our viewers to give us an idea of what types of content that you would like to see in our videos for this year. So please do comment and let us know what you'd like to see so we can tailor our videos and make them very relevant and exciting for you guys to watch. With that being said though, let's get started with today's video. Cory, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you lost your vision?
For a lot of you, you've probably watched a number of our videos and probably know a lot about me, but I am a father of two kids, a 13-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. Actually, he's not 12 yet. He will be coming up in February. And I've worked here at Vision Forward. Yesterday was 18 years for me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So a lot of different roles, but obviously focus on technology now. But I guess the point of this video is to talk a little bit about my vision loss, how it happened and sort of what my journey was. I've been blind for over 30 years at this point. I had detached retinas. It started when I was in 7th grade. I started seeing some dots and streaks across my vision. And as a typical kind of 7th grade boy, I ignored it. I assumed that it would go away, or I assumed it was nothing. Finally, the vision in my left eye went completely black. And I was like, oh man, obviously I've got to do something and tell somebody about this. And I grew up in a smaller town, so my parents took me to our local optometrist. And I remember sitting down in the chair and doing the eye chart. And he's like, can you read the chart? And I said, no, I can't see anything. And he's like, not even at the top, the big E? And I'm like, well, I know the big E is there. I can't see anything. And so it was obviously more than he could handle. Sure. And so went to referred to a specialist and found out at that point that the retina in my left eye was 75% detached, which is what caused the vision loss. And then over about a year period, then I had a total of 12 surgeries on both eyes. In the beginning, it was trying to save the left eye and reattach the retina. And then some of them on the right eye were preventative, trying to kind of strengthen it, hoping the same thing wouldn't happen. But by the end of 8th grade, the retina in my right eye also detached. So really at the end of 8th grade, I was kind of left with the vision I have now. What I usually tell people now, my vision is, my left eye is completely black, can't see anything. My right eye is, I can see light and colors. Everything is super, super blurry. So I can see light, I can see color, I can see that something is there, but I wouldn't know if it's a person, a thing, what it's just so blurry. But for me, and for anybody living with any vision loss, that any remaining vision you have, even if it's just light perception, that means everything to you. You use it in many different ways during the day and throughout your life. So even that little bit I have is important.
I've seen you use it, for example, if a computer is misbehaving and you're not sure whether it's turned on or not, you're able to tell because of the light coming off the screen whether there's something going on or whether something has changed. So,
yeah, totally.
So I imagine that must have been difficult to deal with as a kid. You have this declining vision. How did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, at 7th grade, being in middle school and now being, basically blind, or the end of 8th grade, it was difficult in the fact that I was starting freshman year, 9th grade, going into high school, which is tough for everybody, but now doing it with no vision, really. And my parents and I really fought for me to stay in my school district versus going to the state school for the blind. And so I was the first student to come through that school district with a visual impairment. So we were all sort of building the airplane as it was flying and trying to figure out what would work. It was, in some ways, it was good to lose my vision earlier in life, and in other ways it was harder. I think that when you're that young, you're more flexible, you tend to adapt and adjust better than you do when you get older and you're set in your ways. And so I think that piece made things a little bit easier. I was also more open to doing all the stuff with my friends I was doing before, riding a skateboard. I still remember as a kid, a neighbor giving me a ride on his motorcycle and his hat flew off. And he got off and I slid up and took off on the motorcycle. Like, I don't know that I would do that in my 40s now. But on the other side, I was also too immature and too young to recognize the severity of what I was facing. I really felt pressured, probably mostly from myself more than anyone else, but I felt pressured to be this jovial, upbeat guy who, oh, no big deal, I lost my vision, it's just an inconvenience, no big deal, we'll just move on. And that went on for years, decades, until I really kind of came to grips with what vision loss really is. And we could touch on that topic a little bit later, but that grieving is an important piece.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we do see seniors here who have lost their vision, and it is difficult for them because, they have to relearn how to do things. And at that stage in their life, then they're not really, ready to relearn or want to relearn how to do things. But as a kid, then you're facing your entire life with this loss of vision, and you have to learn how to do everything differently. And to your point, like you were the only person in your school with vision loss. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, who did you turn to for help and support with, doing just everyday things?
It's a great question, and really, the answer it was nobody to a certain degree. I had a what they called a vision and mobility teacher who came in, and now working in the field, I know more about what their qualifications were. But back then, it was just the blind teacher coming in. She wasn't blind, but right. Now she was an itinerant teacher, so she had other schools she worked with, and I would get together with those other. We'd have some events sometimes with those other students, and unfortunately, I had not been made aware of any place like Vision Forward or any other rehabilitation agency, and so it was a lot of just doing it on my own and just hanging out with friends and family. And in some cases, I think that was great. I think that it was a very mainstream life, and I was able to do a lot of really great things. But again, as I mentioned before about that grieving piece, that not having peers, to connect with that were also blind or visually impaired, kept that notion of having to be upbeat and oh, it's no big deal. That kept perpetuating that.
I want to touch on the piece that you're talking about regarding, how you dealt with it by trying to stay upbeat and almost ignoring the implications Absolutely. And the emotional trauma that it, must have caused. So did you feel that in order to fit in, you needed to stay upbeat and be that person because, you almost felt like because of your disability, you had to make an extra effort? Is that what it was?
I think it was a combination of a number of things. First, when you just don't know any better, you tend, sometimes obviously denial is a big part of the grieving process, right? And I'm no different for denial. I like to deny a lot of things.
As we all do.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, that denial piece was part of it. My parents, they did the very best they can. They did a great job, but they also didn't really know. And in some cases, that was tough. But in other cases, it was awesome. Like, get out and you can go pull weeds, move rocks, get out there and figure it out. Mm-hmm. Who I am today is because of those people who made me figure out how to do things. But, not having someone to kind of support you and help you and say it's okay to grieve is also very difficult. Because so many times we hear the word independence, and we think that being independent means that we do everything by ourselves. And that's just not true. Nobody, no matter what your disability is or no disability, is 100% independent. Otherwise, we wouldn't be human who have to be together in a group and connect with people. And so you know, there was that also that piece of that the more I asked for help, the less independent I felt. And that's not true, but that was part of that denial piece for me too. So accepting that asking for help is absolutely okay was a big piece for me to kind of finally grieve. We have a social worker on staff here at Vision Forward, and one thing that she'll say sometimes is give your vision loss, the disability, the respect it deserves. And I really think that's a true statement. I didn't respect my vision loss and didn't fully grieve and go through that process like I really should have. And for many, many years, that had a negative effect on kind of who, you know, my personality and who I was.
And how did you eventually come to kind of work through all of that? Was it just something that happened over time, or did you have professional help, or how did that all come?
Yeah, combination. It was good conversations, again, connecting with peers who were visually impaired themselves. As I mentioned, Erica, our social worker, she is also blind due to RP. And her, we have had many good conversations over the years about this topic and connecting, you know, and understanding that grieving process. And then, you know, having, you know, mental health counseling myself and kind of going through it and talking with people. Again, I finally came to the realization that, you know what, every single day, my vision loss, my blindness, it causes an issue. There's no way around that. No matter how independent you think you are, whatever. Every single day you will be faced with some kind of situation or challenge that your vision loss just makes it really difficult or sometimes even impossible to do. And that's okay to get angry when that happens. But what I sort of learned to do was two things. Number one, recognize those situations, be okay with them, but then also realize that it's okay to be angry for a moment, but not to let that grief or anger consume you all day. You know, you need to grieve, you need to be angry, and then process it, and then move on. Because your vision loss, your blindness is not going to cause you barriers and challenges 24 hours a day. So focusing on those good parts is just as important.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And I'm interested to know, as an adult, how your vision loss has changed in the way that it affects you versus when you were younger. Because, I mean, now you're a fully grown man with a wife and kids.
That's what they say.
That's what they say, at least, yeah. You know, it's a lot of responsibility for anybody. And,
yeah.
You know, with the added barrier of the vision loss, like, how is it different for you now?
Now I have to worry about more than just myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this is true no matter if you have a vision loss or not. Now that we're adults, we have people in our lives, if they're spouses, family, you know, kids, whatever it might be, a job you have to get to. I face it, I think, like anyone else does, honestly, with more creativity. I think that I probably maybe face a few more challenges in some of those things, getting to and from work. Like this morning, typically I carpool with somebody, but on Fridays I don't. So I was going to take a Lyft this morning, and I pull the Lyft app out and I pull it up, and $70.25.
Oh.
And I'm like, that ain't working. I'm not doing that. So then it's like, okay, well, how are you going to solve this? You can't just be mad about that. You got to come up with a creative way to fix that solution. And it's the same with kids too. You know, if you're parenting kids, how are you going to do it with vision loss? What are some of the barriers? What are some of the challenges that might face, and how are you going to come and creatively fix that? And really, I think being blind is one of the best skills you can ever develop if you are blind or low vision is problem solving. Mm-hmm. Creatively problem solving challenges that are faced, you know, that you face, and coming up with ways to get around those.
Yeah, and I think one of the tools that we can use to problem solve, which, you know, works whether you are sighted or not, is through the use of technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you may not know this, but this is a assistive technology channel.
Oh, I've heard about that. I've heard good things.
Yeah. And so obviously you are a keen assistive technology and mainstream technology user as well. And since you were a kid, obviously technology has become a lot more prevalent. And I would imagine that it has made a lot of things easier.
Yeah.
Maybe it's made some things more difficult as well. I'd be interested to know and what impact technology has had on your independence.
Yeah, I mean, overall, technology has been positive. It has made a huge impact on my life, from the ability to use a computer with a screen reader, which was around even before I lost my vision, but obviously has gotten better over the years, to the ability to use mobile devices, iOS, iPhones or Android cell phones, tablets, all of that stuff has made a huge impact on my life and has made coming up with solutions to these challenges much easier. I talked about this morning needing to get a lift. Well, Lyft wasn't, without technology, Lyft, Uber, or any other rideshare solution wouldn't be available. Using Ira or Be My Eyes to, for renting a pair of eyes, as I sometimes will say, that wouldn't be available without technology. Looking up bus schedules and things like that, without having to call somebody, just doing it, when it's convenient for you, wouldn't be available without technology. Has it made it worse or made it harder? Sure. In the fact that, technology is great, but it's only great when it's accessible. And so when you face technology-related things from inaccessible websites to maybe saying, hey, I'd really like to use this iOS app to check my bus schedule. I download it, but now the app's not accessible with voice over the screen reader. Or, everyone knows that watches the channel, they know I love smart home stuff. And so, I told you, I was building a Jumbotron. For my kids that had, but like using the software that everyone recommends, the software is not accessible. So how do you do it? So those are, hobby-wise, the challenges that can be there. And not just, I shouldn't say just hobby, because on a work basis too, or paying your bills, if the website that you go to for your utilities isn't accessible. Yeah. Now, obviously, technology, it's great, but it's also causing challenges too.
Yeah, and there's certain technologies like touch screens and things like that, where with an iPhone, it might have a screen reader, but if you go to a store and you want to try and buy something and they're using a touch screen.
Well, in almost every store now, it's there's 10 checkout lanes, 9 are self-checkout, and 1 is a person, and how do you, as somebody who's blind, how do you use those touchscreen based checkouts?
Exactly.
I wouldn't be where I am today without technology.
Well, I mean, you literally wouldn't, because you are director of technology.
Exactly. So it'd be weird. I mean, it would be weird sitting here, not doing what, just being here. But all in all, I mean, again, I am who I am today because of a lot of factors, but one of those being able to access really good technology and accessing ways to learn how to use it, from websites to YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. All that has made such a big difference, and which is why we've created this channel, right? I mean, we not only why Vision Forward here in Milwaukee, why we are the agency we are. We're here to help people reach their goals who are visually impaired, but that's why you and I do what we do, and that's why we made this channel. We can help people in Wisconsin, but for those outside the state, that's where, why we created this channel, is to pass on this technology information.
Exactly. Information is key.
Yeah.
And with that being said, to wrap up the video, Cory, I was wondering if you, don't want to put you on the spot here, but I was wondering if you have any final pieces of advice for people who may be new to vision loss and still in that stage of grief where maybe they're in denial, or maybe they are, just finding it really hard to cope with the implications for their life moving forward. What would you say if you could go back and tell your 7-year-old self something, or your 12-year-old self something? Then what would you say?
First, I would say, don't steal your parents' car. It's not worth it.
No, speaking from personal experience.
Yeah, exactly. No, for those that are in this, first and foremost, it will absolutely get better. You're in the midst of it right now, and that's okay to be in your grief. But I highly recommend finding an organization that focuses on working with individuals with a visual impairment. I really wish I would have found that when I was 12 years old, because an agency who is well-rounded is going to have a social worker or somebody on staff to help with the emotional piece of it. They're also going to have people on staff who are going to teach you mobility, using a cane, how to use a computer, how to read Braille, how to cook and clean. All of those skills you need not only to live, but as you build and learn those skills, your self-image is going to grow. You're going to pull out of that grief, that hole that you feel that you're in, because you're going to start seeing that, oh my gosh, I can still do these things. Maybe I'm doing them a little differently, but I can still do them. So I highly recommend finding an agency in your area, a good resource, and also connect with other peers, other people like yourself who's living with visual impairment, because there's nothing better than connecting with somebody who you can trust and feel like, hey, you know what? They're also facing the same challenges I am. How are you doing such and such? You know what? I've really been having a hard time cooking on my stove. I'm nervous about the burner. How are you doing it to feel safe and doing, and finding ways to do it? When you come together like that and share information, as you mentioned before, information is key. That's really, again, connecting with peers, connecting with an agency is going to give you the information you need to move forward.
All right, well, thank you, Cory. Thank you for opening up to us today. I think hopefully this has been helpful for a lot of people. And if anybody has any questions, then obviously they can reach out to us.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. I know this video is a little bit different. As Luke mentioned, feel free to leave any questions in the comments if you'd like. We're happy to answer anything about my personal vision loss journey, or just kind of vision loss in general, or whatever you want to put down in that comment section. If you don't feel like putting it in the public comment section, that's fine too. You can always go ahead and contact us. You can give us a call at 414-615-0103. You can shoot us an email at techconnect@vision-forward.org. or you can visit our website, vision-forward.org. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and click that bell so you're notified when new videos come out. As Luke mentioned at the top of the video, go check out our last video. Get into that fantastic drawing. The deadline's February 1st, so go check that out and put your comments in there and help us build this channel. Thanks, and hope to see you soon.